Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special edition of Macro Pro and Friends, the 12 CEUs of Christmas. I'm with Chris Bowen. First, I'd like to apologize for a late start today. We are having some crazy issues with the internet and the system. I was recently in Iceland, and in Iceland, they have like the 12 gnomes of Christmas, and one of them is mischievous, and I think that he jumped in my bag and came along. So he's kind of just playing with our little webinar here today. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Yes, well, you're the first one for our first ever 12 CEUs of Christmas. We really appreciate you coming on board and doing that. Do you have any big plans for the holiday season?
You know, nothing major. My son's coming home from college next Friday, so we'll probably spend some time together. I know we're doing some fishing and just some at-home things. Nothing major. What about you?
Right now I am snowed in on the top of a hill. I have to be at the DIR tomorrow for a stakeholders meeting, so I will find a way to be there. But it's kind of fun to live in a place with lots of seasons. So before we get started with our presentation, I just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping for our attendees, and they start with this. This webinar is worth 1 California CEU credit. You must be logged on to the GoToWebinar platform, which means if you are just phoning in on your phone and listening, you will not be receiving a CEU because GoToWebinar cannot track your time and attendance. However, if you would like to ask any questions of Chris during this webinar, there is a question feature and we'll be sure to ask her those questions. And if we're unable to answer those questions, we'll provide them, and if time allows, she will get back to you and answer those. There are also handouts attached to this webinar, so please make sure that you download them so you have them for future reference. And then lastly, all of our webinars are located on the Macro Pro YouTube channel, so you can certainly watch this again there and any others. We have, like I mentioned, 12 CEUs to Christmas. The next one's going to be, I think, on the 12th, and it's going to be on pain management. All of the classes are listed on the MacroPro website, which is www.macropro.com. It's our pleasure to bring you this educational program. We feel that as partners with you, that we should provide you the best the industry has to offer. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris because she certainly knows everything about leads, and she knows all the ins and outs for you. So Chris?
Thank you so much. All right, well, what we're going to do first is make sure I can see my screen. That's probably the most important thing. So everybody should be able to see my screen right now. Yes? Okay. All right. So a couple things. One, I know I'm going first on this, so if you're not first, you're last, as my son told me this morning when I told him I was the first one. So there you go. And then the other one is, since you're talking about being iced in and ice, then we'll start with my favorite joke, which is, how much does a polar bear weigh? Enough to break the ice. So there we go. All right. We are going to start on the 12 days of DIR updates. So some of the things that we are going to talk about are navigating the DIR website, where to go to find some very helpful things, and then some helpful examples. So we will start. I know a lot of people know where this is, but sometimes there's one or two little things that people just don't always know where to go. So hopefully today you learn at least one new helpful thing. And I did notice there's some new things in here, so I will make sure to point those out. And then at the very end, if we have time, I'll share my screen and we'll go live onto the DIR website and I can show you a few other things. So the most important thing there are 3 parts of the DIR website, the top, middle, bottom. We're going to go through each one and just kind of show you the ins and outs. I think the most important button is actually the search button, because it literally will take you anywhere you want to go. You can type in pretty much anything. So we're going to play around with that. There's a new search guy at the bottom, little builder beaver in the corner down there, and he's kind of the new search button. It's more of a bot question. So we'll go through that. And the very top is the information for you screen, which is not like the for you page at the TikTok. It's more of where to go. So I like this part of it because it does show the injured worker, the employer, and then obviously the TPA. A lot of employers love this because it shows them some other ideas on what's going on, the new stuff, where to go. So if your employer is new or you have a risk manager who has some questions, you might actually direct them here and they might be able to have some questions answered that maybe you don't have to take the time out of your day to walk them through everything. So just show them this and they can go from there. All right, we have some cool little transitions here. So the top is one of my favorite, the top of the DIR website. If you go to the workers' compensation button and there's a drop down, this has all kinds of things. We're not going to go through every single one, but as you can see, you can have access to the DEU, which has addresses in there. It has information for the IMR, Independent Medical Review, INA, and then medical unit, return to work. There's also court calendar in there. Everything in here has a button you can click on, it'll take you somewhere else. So we are going to actually go back there in a few minutes. So just working our way down on the DIR website. The other thing we can look at are forms. This has every form you would possibly need. And since this is a blue button or blue link, it would take you somewhere else. So anything that is in blue on here will take you to another page. And all the forms, I have a lot of people ask me sometimes for the STIP form or the CNR form, because our office does fill those out for the adjusters. But if you don't want someone to help you and you want to do it yourself and you want the most up-to-date forms, this is where I would go to find them. That just blew away. There you go. Okay, so this is the bottom of the DIR website. This has all your updates at the bottom. So right now it would actually say December. I actually printed this last week. So it has November in here. And all of these are the updates, news updates, anything that happened. And we will go through this in a minute. We'll actually click on one. So this is obviously one of the most important ones because you'll see here what are the brand new items. And again, it's at the very bottom of the DIR website. All right, and then the very, very bottom are any links to other items, which we are going to use this in a little bit. The anti-fraud unit, which is the third one down, we are going to go there in just a second. So the next important thing is our little guy in the corner. How can we help you today? That is actually fairly new. When I did this webinar a couple years ago, that guy wasn't down there. So we're going to go through that too and just show you what he looks like and how to use him. Okay, so we're back up at the top. Back up along the top of the line is the work comp button, I guess, is probably where we're going to spend most of our time. I like the A to Z index, and a lot of people didn't even know this is here or what it does because we don't have time. I know we don't have time to play around with this. Only reason why I ever figured all of this out was because someone asked me, can you do a presentation on maneuvering through the DIR website? And then I've kind of learned my way around here since then. All right, so A to Z, when you click on that, it takes you literally A to Z. I skipped to the LMNO page because we used to always have a hard time with the labor code and finding what you wanted. And maybe you knew what you wanted, maybe you knew the actual labor code. I remember back in the day before we actually could go on the internet, we used to take our labor code and have everything bookmarked with little tabs, and then we would go over to the copy machine, lay it down flat, and we would copy the page that we wanted, and it was kind of crooked on one end, and then we go over to the scanner and scan it into our computer and into our file notes. So that was the old way. Yes, that's how old I really am. But this is much easier. So if you go to the labor code, every single one of these is blue, which means there's a link. So I'm going to click on the L for labor code. And this one actually takes you to the California Legislative Information page. And if you go to California law, it will bring you into this page and you can click on labor code. it takes you to the labor code. I just picked one, just 32, whatever you want. You can click on any of these. Workers' compensation is the one we're going to click on because we want to actually see the labor code. So when you click on that, it does take you here. And I'm just going to click on the 4062 or 4060, just determination of medical issues. And again, you just click on it. And this is where it takes you. So we're actually in the labor code. From here, I highlighted it in blue because you can cut and paste so much easier than using the book and trying to copy it on a scanner. So just highlight this and you can put it right into your file notes. It's very user-friendly. It copies very well. And again, you can look for anything in here. So this did take us to a different page from the DIR website. So you'll have to go back to your DIR to get back to the main screen. But this is where you would go to look up any information, basically. Now, if you know the labor code that you need, I'll show you another way, which will be easier later because it's new. So just going back to our A to Z, there are a couple other things in here that I find helpful. The Title 8 regs are in here. And again, it takes you, I'm not going to go through that one, but same thing. It will walk you through and you can cut and paste. The WCAB decisions is in here, which is great because that would take you into any decisions that have been made in bonk, whatever you need. And you can type in the actual name of the case, and then you can cut and paste that if you would like into a file, or you can send it an email to somebody, whether it's an employer or your defense attorney or us, and ask about a specific case. Then the other one that I like are the zip code locator tools. A lot of times people don't know which ADJ, DWC, what's the venue that we should use. So there is a list in there. And again, it is in blue. It's underlined zip code locator tool. So there is a link. And then there are the list of ADJ zip codes in California with the corresponding district offices. So a lot of people didn't know where that was in the labor code or in the DIR website. So it is right here. Okay. So this is our little guy in the corner. If you click on him, the little says disclaimer, you have to hit I agree. So before you actually get there, literally I just clicked on him, this comes up. If you notice, this is new, there's a little section that says California Labor Code or Title 8 codes of the regs. You actually can click right on here and it takes you where we already were. I'm just assuming that this guy is going to stick around forever, but he is a bot, so you can kind of play around with him, but it skips about 5 steps. The 5 steps I just showed you to get in labor code, this guy will take you right there now. Very, very exciting. Take you right back here. So it skipped a couple steps and then you can go back through the other ones. But this is what it looks like. Kind of, I had to blow it up enough to read it. But this is the, if you click on him to actually ask a question, this is what it looks like. It'll tell you he's a bot. And I typed in first aid, just the words first aid. You'll see them right there in the blue. That's what I typed in. And I hit enter, and this is where it took me. Medical services and first aid. So if you're ever wondering, oh, I don't know, I can't remember, what are the qualifications that qualify for a first aid claim, or your employer calls and says, can I use this as a first aid claim? And you don't remember, you can use your little bot, type in first aid, and then it will take you here. And again, you can cut and paste this because you are literally right in the main section of the labor code, and it transitions right into an email or your file. All right. So this is the updates, the brand new updates. The end of November, they updated the DWC announces temporary disability rates for 2023. So if you're wondering where those are, you have 2 ways to look for it. You can use your bot in the corner down there and type in temporary disability rates for 2023, or you can just scroll down to the DIR website page to what's new. Now, again, this will fall off eventually as you go through other months, but you can always find it in either the back months or the bot. But if you do click on this, it takes you to the news line, which is the updated 2023 TTD rates. And again, you can cut and paste from here. There's no links after this, but it does have everything you need right here. All right, pretty cool. All right, then the bottom of the DIR website has this little button, the anti-fraud unit. So I get this question the most since our company does do liens, settle and negotiate liens. This is probably the question I get asked the most. Can you help me find whatever it is having to do with providers? And this is the easiest place to find it. So if you scroll down to related links and go into anti-fraud unit, it actually takes you to the DIR fraud prevention page. And then over in the right-hand corner, looking at your screen, there's a little quick links, and each one of those has a link, and you know it's a link because it's in blue. So you can look at the adjudication calendar. I did not go into that. I didn't print that one out. But again, we can do whatever we want when we're done with the actual presentation and play around with the DIR website a little bit more. The next one is liens dismissed. So if you click on that, it will take you here. Now you can actually search for a specific lien by your ADJ number, the lien reservation number, which you would find in EAMS, an actual lien claimant name, but you do have to have the exact spelling or at least close to it. You can type in the first couple words or even just the first couple letters, or you can look it up by an injured worker. But probably the easiest thing if you're looking for multiple is to go down a little further, and you can download the entire data, which I only did the first page, but you can go in and look in there. And again, it is underlined and it's in blue, so you know it's a link. So liens dismissed by operational law. And this is what it looks like. So it takes you into an Excel document. And from there, if you would like, you can see at the top the name of it, liens dismissed by operation of law. You can save it, you can sort it, or you can add a filter button at the very top, which I did in row 1. And then you can sort it that way or filter it out just by what you're looking for. So pretty cool. Can go back into this later if anybody wants to see more, but for the most part, it's pretty much just regular Excel. Okay, so going down the list, the next one was California Department of Industrial Relations, criminally charged providers whose liens are stayed. It actually gives you a list. Now, this is not in Excel, but it will give you a list and it gives you the date. So it says as of, this is November 3rd, just because I did this one a couple weeks ago. And I find that they update it about once a month. So it's probably just getting ready to update now. It's the beginning of the month. This is all of the criminally charged, that's the key word here. But it's interesting to go through here and look at them, and they are in alphabetical order by the provider. And it tells you the case, and it tells you which jurisdiction and the case number. Okay, the next one are the full list of lien claimants whose liens have been flagged in EAMS and potentially subject to a stay. So again, this is the full list and they're flagged. And you can go through this one. You can show that there are several for the same one because the lien claimant ERN numbers are different. Okay, and then the very last one on that page was suspension activities. So if you click on this, these are providers who are actually suspended under Labor Code 139.21. And this one is interesting because you can sort it with those little blue buttons beside each list. So you can sort it by name, up or down. You can sort it by location, provider type, the grounds for suspension, which there's a list A, B, C, or D, and then there's a notice issue date. So I actually sorted it by the notice issue date. You can see it's red underneath where it says notice issued, and it shows that I sorted it on November 15th. And then if it's been appealed or suspended, there would be a note in one of those. So again, we can go back into that from the actual website in just a little bit, and I can show you how I got there and further narrow it down depending on how much you really want to see. Okay, so that is the end of the actual presentation, and I left time. Diane, I don't know if you have any, while I get over to the DIR website, if you can see if there's any specific questions.
At this time, I don't see any specific questions on the website.
Okay. That's fine.
But I did have a few people mention they'd have some audio problems.
Okay.
And I'm very sorry about that. Everything seems to be working fine on our end. So maybe they could check their speakers.
Okay, 'cause I can hear you fine. And
right. And then
assuming you can
somebody
hear-
mentioned they were wondering if there was an internet platform problem. And we're not having any internet platform problems. So hopefully, I hear once in a while, Explorer might have an issue. So if they're in Explorer, maybe they want to switch browsers.
Okay. All right. Well, what we'll do while we're here is just to go through. Whoops, I thought that was turned off. Hopefully, let's turn that off here. Okay. So this is where we were in the actual presentation, and I'm going to show you just a little bit more. So we're going to go into here, and I like the, we'll go into the, here we go, decisions first. So you can go into the inbox, significant panel decisions. So if you go in here, this shows you new ones, cases. You can click on any of these, COVID, emergency. If you want to go back and read that, it would pull up right here. And again, you can copy and paste these directly into your file. So pretty easy. You can go into the court calendar. You can
Chris,
do
I had a question.
Sure.
Someone is asking about the platform for the DIR on the website. Is there a platform that works best?
So platform meaning other than the DIR website? I think, if that's the question.
I think they're really wondering, in general, maybe does Chrome work better than Explorer?
Oh, gotcha.
Something like that?
Right. I think Chrome does work better. I mean, it's probably, I think that's what I'm using. I know I've used Explorer in the past. I actually access them on all of them because sometimes I'm on one computer and then I'm on another computer. So I think the DIR website is accessible through any of them. It's some of the other sites like the FileNet. That's the one that isn't always accessible through Explorer.
Okay.
Which is FileNet's a little more in depth than Leans, and you actually have to have a EAMS number and a number to be able to log into FileNet. So we can do that obviously because we're a Lean provider. I'm going to show you this live right here. If you click on this guy, English, you have to click on your disclaimer. Yes, I agree. Looks like I got to go down just a little. So this does have a couple of automatic learn how to file a wage, file, workplace safety. This is more for injured workers, but again, you can come down here and you can pretty much type whatever you want. We'll type in, let's just say, I kind of remember there was something called labor code 4,600. You can just type that. And he's thinking, I mean, you could type anything you want in here. And again, there's multiple places to find all this. You can go to your Title 8, pull it up this way. You can go under workers' compensation. You can search the regs here. So this really takes you so many different places, and there's so many. You can go home as well. There should be a little home button right here. If you're ever not sure, where did I go? What did I click? This is your home button, and it takes you back here. And then again, this is kind of where we started. You can go to workers, employers. You can go down, your forms are here, training materials are here. What's new? The new medical fee schedule for ambulance, that's new. If you weren't sure where you went for something, again, you can always search it at the top, or right here is always a good one. All of these. I like the employer information too, just because a lot of times, like I said, employers ask for information. And if you're not sure you want to send them to this page, all of these have general information, and you can click on any of these and it will take you frequently asked questions for the employer. So again, this is very helpful if you want to refer your employers over here. Reporting fraud, all of this. And again, we're going to go back here to the home. So I'm not going to go into EAMS because that's a whole nother training. And if people are interested in the training, maybe you can reach out to Diana. We'll set up a different one that just goes through EAMS and goes through liens, how to look them up, all of that information. I think that's probably the most helpful. If you're not sure where I went, you can always type in anti-fraud. If you want to go back to the anti-fraud page, and this will take you right here. This is that page with all the provider information. You can go right here, the DIR fraud prevention page. And then this is that page that I had listed, and here's all the links right here. So if you want to know who is actually suspended and you couldn't remember how we got in there, you just click on this. And again, I have it listed right here. It remembers how you saved it last time. So these are the ones who are just recently suspended as of last week. If you wanted to see who's appealed it, you can go under here and it will show you all the ones that are appealed and the notice issued and the date of the suspension as well. A lot of times we have people ask, well, when were they suspended? Why did so-and-so, try to settle after that? Or, should I pay this or not? And this is a good place to help you look for that. Okay, and then you can always go back right here if you want to just go back a little bit. Again, these are all the ones you can look at. And then there's also workers' compensation fraud resources. There's reports in here. There's your Senate bills in here. If you don't remember what they are, you can obviously click on them. It will take you in here. You can copy and paste directly from here. And again, if it's blue, there's a link. So here's other ones. You can just keep going deeper and deeper into this website. It's like a rabbit hole. You could spend all day in here, which I know nobody has the time, which is why I wanted to do just something basic to show people kind of where to go, how to look for something, and then how to get back home. So that's kind of the, I guess, ins and outs of the DIR website. Again, if anybody has any questions, we can open it up.
Hour short.
What'd you say, Diane?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I asked the question. All right. Well,
Let's see here. We do have a question here. Let
okay.
me get some glasses on. So here it says, oh no, that one was not a question. What's a thank you, Chris? You did a great job. Here's
Oh,
another thank you. There's lots of
okay.
thank yous
Okay.
with
Well,
great information. So mostly it's just people telling you that it's really great information.
okay, good.
So,
Well,
was there?
one question I do get a lot is average, how to calculate average weekly wage. So average weekly wage. That's just kind of basic, just putting it in there just to show you where it's going to take you. And again, you don't have to know the labor code. You don't have to know exactly how it's worded. It should find it up. There you go. So these are the average weekly wages. And if I believe it shows you how to calculate it. I probably had to put the word calculate in there. There's mileage rates are in there, by the way. Let's see. I think I had to put calculate. Try it one more time. Again, this is one I didn't look up. I just thought about it right now. So
Very good on your feet, Chris. That's awesome.
calculate, let's see. Well, let's do what they did and say AWW. Let's just see what happens here. It shows you how to calculate it. Now, if it would only do the whole thing for you, wouldn't it be great if you could scan in your wages and it would do it for you? So
That
it
would be
looks
a
like
dream.
kind of take you back to the same place I already was. So there is a place, and I'd have to go back and look, where it walks you through the steps of calculating it. So I'd have to go and look for it a little bit. See, it's not perfect. I mean, you do have to know. Sometimes this one I find is better. So, and I type in how to calculate. Whoop, calculate average weekly wage. Let's see how that goes. Okay, that's more of the chart. Again. Well, I'm gonna have to do some research, see? This is one of the ones that finds it, but I don't think there's a calculator right here. Yeah.
For a
Just
PD rating?
right here. Well, it just shows you, like how to do it, but and the numbers, like it shows you how right here. So, but a lot of times people don't even know that. So anyway, like I said, you just kind of have to play around with it and see what it is you're looking for and use this button and use this button and use this little guy. And that's pretty much where you're going to find everything. And then your home button just to get back. So
Well, it looks like the DIR has really upgraded their website.
They have definitely made it more user-friendly. Several years ago, the search button did not work very well. And of course, we never had the bot helping us. And then more recently, I think they've added more even into this screen, which is the drop down. And a lot of people have found that useful because it takes you directly into some of the items that are the most used, like EAMS right here. So again, I'm not going to put in any ADJ numbers because I don't want to necessarily go through that entire thing. That's an hour long by itself. But again, this is just EAMS by itself. So again, if people want to go into that specifically, we can do a whole nother one and do that fun stuff. So, all right, well, that was kind of it. If there's any specific questions, then definitely, or go ahead, Diane.
We have some extra time. Can you tell us a little bit about things and changes that are happening in the lean world, since that's one of your expertise?
Well, let's see what's going on in the lean world these days. I found recently, I don't know if it's just me, but I felt like the liens have quieted down just a little bit. Maybe not the lien claimants, because they are always after you. There hasn't been a lot of updates recently. I think the main thing is just, obviously you're going to get it's kind of like the scam calls that we get on our phone. You are going to get the lien claimants that call over and over and over, and we all know who they are, but you're basically on a speed dial. And then once you answer, then they'll get you on the phone and they'll try to tell you everything in the book. And the main thing is, either try to figure out if you owe it, which is a whole nother thing. And if you are tired of them calling you, please, please let us help you file a cease and desist. I would say that probably 10% of our referrals are for one lien, where the lien claimant won't stop bugging the adjuster, and the adjuster is just tired of the phone calls and the messages and the emails. And so then we'll file a cease and desist. So other than that, there really isn't anything brand new in the lien world. I mean, liens are liens. I will say,
Are we online still, Chris? Or are you guys showing up at the courts?
so it just depends. The actual trials are in person, but probably 99% is online. And so we're able to do that online. We call in, we're able to attend electronically, or I should say over the phone. And they're not doing in person for some of those things right now. I don't know if we're ever going to go back. It'd be curious to see. I would imagine someday, but I think now that they figured out that a lot of this can be done over the phone, that they may not go back.
I think we're seeing a lot of that, even with document retrieval companies. One of the things we find is a lot of the attorneys want us to serve a subpoena in person, and they feel like this is gospel and this is law and it's the only way it could be done. But that's not really the way that the regs and codes read. It's you have to present the subpoena based on how the person wants to receive it. And a lot of doctors' offices, for example, they don't want a subpoena showing up at their front door because it scares a lot of the patients. So they want to have it emailed to them or mailed to them. So, in person is not even an option. So it's really very interesting to see how things have really, really changed in our industry. And a lot of people believe it should be one way when nowadays things are so different. And I think it's great if we can do things quicker, faster, because we can use electronics, we can be online, and we save our clients a lot of money because we don't have to charge them for travel time, etc. So I think that's really very important.
Right.
Let me see if there's any other questions.
Okay. I'll go back to the home page.
Okay, so wait a minute. I'm going to do this real quick. Hold on. Some providers have more than one suspension date. Is there any renewal for a prior suspension?
So I think they're updated. Let's go in here. The date that they're suspended is in there. If they are later taken off, then it will show of the original suspension date, but then it'll also show the date that they were taken off. So they won't be in there anymore after a certain date. Basically, if you don't see them in there, then they're not suspended. So that's kind of how we go in and those out.
Okay, this person says, I have a lien claimant that says they have a lien conference for 12/12/22, but the file they were talking about is not in EAMS. So what does that mean?
That shouldn't happen. I mean, if it's not in EAMS, then I don't know how they can show there's a hearing coming up. Maybe it's under a different ADJ number. Maybe there's multiple cases. Could be that they have the name right, but maybe they got the other information wrong and it's not really your file. I mean, I would have to see the file. So whoever that is, maybe they can shoot me an email later and I can look into it and see what I can find out. I'll play around with it and try to narrow it down.
Okay.
But obviously that shouldn't happen. I mean, if it's on a calendar, you could even go into that court calendar right here and look it up that way to see.
That's a great tool.
Yeah. So you can go in here and look it up. This is the court calendar, which is the same, the EAMS, but again, we'd have to have all that information. So, you know, if they want to email me separately and we can go through it all, look for it and see what's going on. I can also look in FileNet to see if I have the ADJ number, what's going on that way too. So if we don't have the file, I can try to look in FileNet. Otherwise, I would have to file just a notice of rep to take a look at it and see. But if it's public, I can go in and look.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question was really for me. The question was,
Okay.
can I repeat where the online presentations are? And those are at the MacroPro YouTube channel. So all you have to do is go to YouTube, type in the word MacroPro, and all of our previous programs are there and available for you. And then there's a question about whether or not, Chris, there's a PD calculator on this website.
Oh, let's see. Permanent, probably spell it out. Disability calculator. There's a schedule. Not going to be it.
Someone thought all you have to do is type in is TD rating calculator.
Oh, TD.
TD.
Temporary. Let's see, TD.
And while you're doing that, I have another question. It says, I have noticed that EDD is impossible to get a hold of even more than before.
Yes.
The only way to resolve with them is at an LC.
So,
Norm?
no, I mean, if you're an adjuster, yes, it's harder, I would say. But for us, we actually have like their phone numbers and their emails, and they have a relationship with the hearing reps here. So a lot of times if it's a specific location, then I will give it to a specific person. I would say Alan is our EDD expert. So a lot of times we will give the EDD liens to him and he will negotiate them directly with the EDD rep. And he's able to negotiate them before the hearing, not every single time, but I would say 80% of the time, he is able to negotiate that. Yeah.
Okay, then the next question is, can you point out a fact sheet under the quick links?
Fact
Those were
sheet.
very helpful.
Okay, let's see. So under the quick links, like down on the bottom, maybe they're talking about, or over on the corner, maybe. So again, I would probably the quick links for who? So there's employers, there's TPAs, there's so many fact links. So I guess I would say for who? Fact links for which one? Is that for liens?
Doesn't say.
Okay. Well, you can.
Oh, wait a minute. Now,
Yep.
let's see. Different person, actually. They would like to see them for employees.
Oh, for the actual employee who's injured.
That's what it says here.
Okay, let's see. FAQ employee. See, these are ones that I hadn't found before. Oh, it helps if I spell it right. So covered employees, So there's one here. There's frequently asked questions about COVID. So again, you kind of just have to go through what it is exactly if you're looking for. There's this one right here, which is the DWC FAQ for employees. So I like the search button, but again, you could use the bot. And then from here, you would just kind of go through again, frequently asked questions. These are all in blue. So depending on your question, you can go into the temporary disability. the benefits, the permanent disability, and then just navigating the work comp system. So if you're an employee and you want to know that, you can go in there. Explains what MMI is, what PNS is, which is very helpful for an employee, because a lot of times I think we use all those words knowing that we know what they mean, but not necessarily the employee. So this is a great tool to give to your injured worker so they can go in here and maybe just get a little education on what it is and what the summary rating is, all of that.
Okay, we also had somebody ask about receiving credits for the webinars that are online at the YouTube channel. And at this time, we do not offer any CEU credits for previously run programs. Perhaps that's something we can look at in the future, but at this time, we don't. We can't offer that because we can't watch time and attendance, and that's what GoToWebinar does. The other question we had was about the CEUs and when they're going to receive them. And I see I'm joined by my colleague, Wendy Stevens. Hi, Wendy, how are you?
Hi, Diane, I'm well, thanks. Sorry about my computer glitch.
Yay. So as I mentioned earlier, when I was in Iceland, there was, they have like these 12 gnomes of Christmas, and one of them is Mischief, and he has visited us with this webinar. So we're glad to have you back. So to answer the question on the CEUs, it is going to be sent to you within 1 hour to the email that your link was sent to. So you will be receiving it that way. Hey, Wendy, was there something you would like to add to our conversation today?
I want to wish everybody happy holidays, and thank you so much for joining us. And Chris Bowen, thank you so much for being the first of the 12 CEUs of Christmas. And we hope that you take a look at the other webinars for Macro Pro and Friends CEUs, 12 CEUs of Christmas, and see if there's any others that you'd like to join us.
Absolutely. There is a Jingle Mingle in Sacramento this Thursday. So if you haven't registered for that and you're in the area, we'd love to have you join us. And Chris, would you like to say something in closing?
Well, I will be at Jingle Mingle, so come by our booth. We're making our famous punch again. And I appreciate everyone on a Monday morning calling in. I know Mondays are tough, and I appreciate the time today. And thank you for the invite.
Excellent. All right. Well, everybody, you guys, we'll see you at the next 12-day of Christmas webinar. I hope. Check our website and have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. Bye-bye now.
Bye.